So it's amazing. You probably have heard of people. Have you heard of the sleeping prophet?
Yes.
Yes, Edgar Casey. It was amazing. You would take a little small nap and wake up, and you know, he really would have some very sensible things to say. Actually, it was amazing. Have you ever thought that it's possible, actually, if somebody can do something, it's possible for you to do this? Yes? Did you know that there's such a phenomena as speed learning and photographic learning? Have you heard of these things? Did you know that it could be predicted, for the most part, those people who are successful at speed learning and speed reading and photographic reading, it can be predicted, those people who do well on this. Before the training begins, you can get a potato, and you can ask a person to put a plastic straw through that. Most of the people who can put a plastic straw straight through the potato typically are people who actually can pick up this photographic reading. This is something which is a little more intuitive and not sort of necessarily so consciously derived. Though, so the first thing that we're saying here is that we need to be a little more intuitive about things. But let's talk about things in terms of the things we could see, we could feel, we could hear. So when you connect with someone with their hands, did you know it's amazing that it's possible to tell if there's any inflammation in the body? Do you know how it's possible to tell this? No. By the moisture content between the cells. It's possible to tell you to tune in whereabouts the inflammation is in the body. Who would love for me to check out? Yes? Okay, let me just feel your hands.
I'll stand up.
Turn over. Okay, so we're not doing too bad, but we have a tiny little bit of adrenal exhaustion. And we have a small inflammation, but it's actually adrenals, because the adrenals are a little exhausted. That's the major thing. But we have a little inflammation just in here, and that travels down a little bit of interstitial cystitis, of urinary interstitial cystitis. But it's modest in compared to some people here. But you do have a little inflammation, you have it down in here. You can tell this by holding hands and feeling the moisture content of the hands. See, now we have 1, 2, 3 places where we have inflammation, quite a bit of inflammation actually, and that's in the pelvic region in here, on both of these sides, you know. I think we feel pretty good. Marla's doing fairly good. We have a couple of spots where we have inflammation a little. We have one spot down here, and we have sort of one spot still here, a little, in the intestinal tract. So I'm feeling this, and I'm going to share with you some things that you can do. First of all, I'm feeling the hands, and the hands correspond directly with the things that's going on. So the further you go toward the fingers, the more you're traveling up into the periphery of self, and the more you come down into the base of the hands, the more you're coming down into the base of the body. So it's possible to feel where that inflammation is, because it will correspond quite a bit with the things going on in the body. But we're going to talk about lips. How can you read the lips of a person and see what's going on with the intestinal tract? So when we connect with each other physically, we can feel the moisture content of the body. Let's Louis, let me feel your hands. This is Linda's father, the grandfather of the baby here, who's a special guest today, sitting down the front here. So Louis has some inflammation in the body, of course. We have some inflammation actually in the small intestine. Small intestine is not emptying as well as what it can, because bile is occluding the flow of material through the intestine. So bile, the bile bladder, which is up underneath here, has a wax-like deposit. This wax-like deposit, Louis, is impeding the intestinal tract from emptying itself properly, and so fatty foods especially are held onto more, and so that creates a unfriendly bacteria to be in the intestine, and that doesn't help things. But it is because of bile occlusion. So we have a bile occlusion up underneath in here. If it's interesting, we could clear that out. You get back proper peristaltic activity, but we have some inflammation in here. So when you connect with people's hands, you can feel if there is inflammation in the body as a result of the moisture content, because if there's inflammation, the body's thrusting that heat and thrusting that extra water out toward the periphery of self. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah.
So when somebody's having a fever, what do we feel? We can feel, oh my God, this person's sort of like perspiring, they can be clammy, we can be clammy and hot and clammy. If there's any hot clamminess that's going on, it typically is an indication there is some inflammation in the body. So,
Is there a finger swelling when one eats certain foods?
okay, if there's finger swelling, yes it is, inflammation and congestion. If there's swelling at all after eating the next day, it's evidence that food wasn't processed properly at all, and then what came in created some allergy actually, and then there was pressure in here, and then the kidneys didn't filter at night. Very common. Eating late at night is very detrimental. We should do what we can to make sure, relatively as we can, things are empty.
When you say late, after what time?
When you fall asleep, when you go to fall asleep, there should really be very little in your upper tummy. Honestly, it should be absolutely empty as it can be. There should be nada in here. You know, and this is about eternity. Why? Because the pancreas produces pancreatin, and pancreatin breaks down cancerous cells, neoplastic cells. Pancreatin does this at night whilst we sleep. Very important. But if we've burdened our pancreas by things we ate that had to pass on goodness all the time, like all cooked food requires the pancreas to have to do its work. Okay, so let's look at the lips for a second here, and we're going to just talk about the lips. So the top lip very much corresponds with the strength of your upper stomach. The things that's going on with the lips up here, you can directly read. Absolute indication of what's going on in the upper tummy. So if it's puckered here and here, in both these places, evidence of congestion of the upper stomach slightly. If it's dry, it's evidence of upper stomach being slightly dry. If it's wet, if it's chapped, it's absolute evidence of the stomach being this way as well. So the lips here is very much, the top lip is directly indicating what's going on in the upper stomach. So now, the small intestine can be sensed by all of the tissue which is on the top of the bottom lip. It's the top inside part of the bottom lip. You can read that directly, and that can be indicating to you the health of the person's small intestine and large intestine. So large intestine is this very bottom part of the bottom lip. Small intestine is the very top part of the inside of the lip. So let's see. I can just share with you something a little about your tummy. So you just relax. Okay. So now, actually, if we can come up and we can just actually turn around, and I can just share. Is it okay? We can share.
Sure.
Because actually, we've got a few people going on. So what's your name again?
Mindy.
Mindy. Okay. Mindy has kind of volunteered for us, so we're going to be very kind. So now, Mindy, we're looking at the bottom lip here now, right? What can we see? We can see that we're distended. If we look in the primary spot that we're distended, it's here, isn't it? You know where that's corresponding? Right here. Right here. So now the lips tell us as a window into, this is the sacroiliac valve area where your small intestine is emptying into your large intestine. So, and we can see that the distension mostly is the large intestine because it's sort of the bottom part of the lip. But we can also see that the top part of the lip is really affected too. The small intestine on this side is really, really inflamed, and actually there's little tissue necrosis there, right? And we can see this because we have an indentation on the lip here in the skin of the lip. The skin of your lip, it corresponds very, very highly with the things that's going on in your tummy. So we have a little inflammation down here, and that's causing Mindy to less than have as excellent as she can albumin. And albumin, if you have enough albumin, you've got a long life. You've got great intelligence.
What is that word, albumin?
Albumin. Let me write that down. Thanks, Mindy. Mindy, good job, yes?
Thank you.
Okay. So now what? Albumin. That's right. I'm going to write this down.
Increase albumin.
Okay. So we're going to talk about this in a second. Is this interesting? Is this we're on the right track here? Albumin. Albumin is a super transporter in your blood. 66% of the protein in your blood should be albumin, and that creates great transportation and cell waste away. Whilst we have inflammation in here, albumin is modest.
When you say in here, do you...
In here, any inflammation in the body anywhere at all. Inflammation here, anywhere at all. Why? Because inflammation requires the immune system to produce proteins to manage that inflammation. And that's going to crowd the amount of protein that can be in the plasma. So it crowds the space, and the albumin has to be reduced. You know. Let's see. I'll just put that on a chair for Dad. Wants to have a little sip or something. Do you need a little sip or anything at all?
No, it's okay.
You good?
Fine.
Yeah, you sure?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Do you? Okay. So, so what other the platelets do we have? We have albumin, we have globulin, and we have fibrin. Globulin is proteins excreted because of immune cells.
Can you spell that?
Globulin, Globun. Okay, so now all of this is protein. There can only be 75 grams of protein per litre in your plasma, that's all. You can't have more. It's impossible. If you die yet your body looks really good, it is because you've got low albumin. That's the reason. And then euthanasia is performed on all of us as we get older. They just up your dose of the drugs that's causing you to be sedated. They just up those doses, and once they up those doses, that's goodbye. Why? Because it reduces albumin more and more and more. How do you increase the albumin? You can only you increase the albumin. There can be 55 grams per litre, which that's a nice amount. That's a wonderful amount. By reducing these two proteins, by reducing inflammation in the body and reducing these two proteins, you can raise this. This is raised. So by improving our hygiene, by making sure that we keep our hands away from our nose and mouth and this sort of thing as we can, by making sure we have good hygiene internally this way, by making sure you're doing live food, by clearing away the bile occlusion and this sort of thing, it's possible for you to be able to raise albumin. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that you know something that most doctors in town have no idea about? You ask them, how do you raise albumin? They have no idea. They have no idea. And actually lots of doctors in town, they say that I'm lying. You know, they never have heard of anybody raising their albumin. But I do raise albumin all the time. And I've got a lot of empirical research to show this. Let's come on up actually, if you love, to come up and actually, Dan, can we bring that back a little bit, just so we can bring... Okay, wonderful. It's wonderful. And so actually, we can be, that's great. Is this Mum?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. It's great for Mum to be here today. Yeah. Wonderful. Good. Okay. So this is so very important because our whole program, this is the basis of it. If you know this, then you really know how to help someone heal up. How do we go about reducing inflammation? You've got to get rid of the bile stones, number one. Why? Bile stones. Oh, how do we do that? You do a 14-day, you do JUBB cell rejuvenation, which is upstream cleaning. It's clearing away all this occlusion. Another thing, you can smell somebody's skin, smell their breath, smell their hair. You can totally know what's going on. They should have baby fresh breath. Baby fresh breath. Baby fresh breath. Baby fresh breath happens as a result of this being so clean. It's so wonderful. Did you know if you do urine therapy, it becomes so clean, your breath becomes fresh like a baby. Fresh like a baby. Because, baby's only on mum's milk. And what's that? It's the same as urine. It's purified blood. Mine is the pigments, a few more things in there. There's some sugar in there that shouldn't be in the urine. And some protein in there that shouldn't be in the urine, basically. But it is purified blood, mother's milk. But mother's milk has everything in it. Isn't it amazing to you, if you can imagine this, that the baby only feeds maybe 4 to 5, 6 times a day perhaps, maybe more for comfort. But babies only generally have to feed 4 or 5 times a day, that's all, and they only feed for about 10 minutes, that's it. And then what they get out of mum is not much milk, really, when you look at it. But then when you weigh it, there's only 5% protein. It's like, oh my God, there's no protein in that. How could this kid be just like growing so huge without any protein? It's like, this doesn't make sense. It does. Actually, the more protein the kids get, it can really be a stressor for them, and that can less than allow their growth pattern to be as good as it can be. But it's so wonderful to be able to quieten things down so beautifully inside electrically, and it's possible then to read many things that's going on more so by being more still. So fibrinoglobulin, these are the things, right? We want to reduce those, and we reduce those by clearing up the inflammation. The very first step typically is getting back your liver function. Can you really have energy for your brain if you don't have a liver? No. You can't even think without a liver. Isn't that amazing? Liver is first. Can the heart beat without the energy that's really released by the liver? No. We can't digest anything hardly, we can't even see unless the liver is working good, which we can see beautifully as a result of clearing away these bile stones. We can help enormously. We can clear away the debris that we have within the intestine here, and this can assist enormously, quite a bit, with everything. As we could do some castor packs over the abdomen and this sort of a thing, it can improve things. And as we have magnesium, it can help the muscles relax nicely and everything. So far we looked at the lips. Let's look at the face. Would you like to look at the face? When we look here, do we know what this corresponds with? What? Kidneys. Okay. So whenever things are full here, there's happiness. When things are not so full here, it is because I can have processed things through in a sad way, and I can have felt sad a little about something. But all sadness really is some planning that I've done in my head that was to do with some loss, or feeling of loss, or feeling of separateness, or something like that, which really doesn't exist. A lot of that is sort of completely made up. But so sadness and kidney force is shown through here. Things that affect that is making sure your tummy's empty at night. Otherwise, that can be affected a little bit. Making sure there's no inflammation in here. Otherwise, congestion causes the kidneys less than to fill the blood at night like it can, and then there could be some puffiness a little bit, and not things being cleansed like they can. So kidneys are sensed here. How are we doing? Okay? Yes? All right. So now, what about this area of the eyes? This correlates with the spleen function. So down underneath the eyes corresponds with the kidneys, and slightly above the eyes into the corners here like this, this corresponds with the spleen. So when this is full and puffy, that's absolute evidence of the spleen being full and puffy. If it's sunken and drawn in, it's like a sclerotic condition, a drawing condition within, where there's a loss of tissue and this sort of a thing, and so and that affects that's indicating the spleen. So we can look at the face and we can look at these conditions on the outside, and it's a window into the internal matrix of the body. We can look at the ear. You can look at the crease of the. You can look at the ears. Basically, there should really be no creases. If there's a crease, it's crease on the right ear, indication of some liver stress. Crease on the left ear lobe, indication of heart stress. Veins in the ear. The body sort of is curled up there with the head. That's like a little fetus, and the head is here, and it comes all the way around like this. The body, and then the feet tuck up and everything up underneath and like this. So it's like a little body, and that corresponds exactly with the things in the body. So you can read the ear literally for things that's going on inside. The most important thing in our readings is to be empty. Is it possible for you to do reading if you're thinking about what somebody else is saying back to you? No, not really. But we should be alert as we're communicating to be empty and using our eyes to exit the communication to see how the effect of things is, you know, because someone can say, well, you need to do a gallbladder flush. And the person goes, you go, oh, no gallbladder? The person says, oh, that was already taken out. So, well, you really need to do a liver flush because no gallbladder there. But the person actually has to have to do liver flushes. Okay. So, cholesterol. Does everybody know, heard about cholesterol? Yes? There's a good kind and a bad kind. Good kind is, what's that called? HDLs?
Yeah.
And LDLs. HDLs happen to be what's called a high-density lipoprotein. It's a form of cholesterol which transports things back to the liver to be broken down. So when you've got very few HDLs, what's going to happen? Stuff's not being broken down by the liver as well as what it can. Now we're going to talk about how could this be. Now when you have high LDLs, which is very common, isn't it? High LDLs, low HDLs. Very common in less than excellence. So when high LDLs are present, low density lipoproteins, they're high. It means that things are being transported away from the liver. So LDLs transport things away from the liver, HDLs transport things back to the liver. So when the LDLs are high, what's the meaning of this? Stuff's not being processed by the liver and has to be transported away. Very common. Very common. So cholesterol picture, this goes to make up the cholesterol picture, right? Okay. So cholesterol. So now, did you know that when you eat starch, flesh, and cooked food and acid-forming food, which we never had in our life, you know, or in our evolution, that cholesterol crystallizes. It crystallizes into wax-like deposits, which impedes the liver from emptying itself. Would you like to know how to tell if somebody's got bile stones? We can actually feel in the webbing of the hand here. We can feel in the webbing of the hand. And we have some bile stones. We have bile stones, you know. I can just feel. Yeah. We have some bile stones. We have bile stones. Yeah. We have some bile stones. You can feel in the webbing here if there's any puffiness. That directly correlates with the condition here. As there's a complete emptiness, and you can go all the way back to your backbone, basically, there's nothing in here. It's empty completely. If you've got puffiness or soreness here, that's an absolute indication of bile occlusion. So when we eat starch and flesh and cooked food that acidifies cholesterol, bile is cholesterol in a liquid state. It crystallizes into a wax-like deposit. It impedes the liver from emptying itself. And you can really sense this. The nose through here can have some red veins. That's an indication of a sclerotic condition of the liver. You can ask a person to open up their mouth and you can look at their tongue. Scalloped tongue on this side here is an indication of stress on this side. Scalloped tongue, where the tongue's being pushed into the teeth, is stress, and that's because of stress here. So when people have a scalloped tongue, it is because at night when they've slept, digestion didn't work very well as what it can, and there was stress during the night, and that stress is shown by the effects that the tongue has pressing into the teeth. Is this making sense? So now the eyes. Let's look at the eyes. So now the tissue that's directly round the pupil itself, right? Not the iris. The iris is the coloured part of the eye, but the pupil itself, the dark spot in your eye. The tissue directly round the iris directly corresponds with the upper stomach. You could tell everything going on in the upper stomach by reading the tissue directly around the very pupil itself. So if this is darker than the colour of the eye itself, it's an indication of underactivity of the upper stomach. If it's lighter than the actual colour of the eye itself, it's an indication of an overacidity. If the colour is dark and there's not enough hydrochloric acid, that's an indication that starch has been robbing a chloride molecule, and that really less than allows proper hydrochloric acid, and then things don't get broken down, and then there's gas and flatulence down here. If it's light, if it's very light, it's an indication that that the tummy is overacid. If the tummy was overacid, it's because of ravenous eating. Hypoglycemia and ravenous eating causes gas and flatulence as well. So the less that we eat, the better off we are. The more we can move more toward live food, the better off we are, the longer life. What do you feel? Is it really worthwhile living a longer life, or being in the moment and having that head rush? You know, supposed to have a long life, and it's just like, hey, I don't know about the head rush. Maybe we can let some of that head rush go and live a longer life as a result. Because when you eat bread, you get a bit of a head rush when you do it. You feel sleepy afterward. That's the drug-like effects that the bread has. It acts like an opiate, but it really is less than excellent. So the tissue directly around the eye like that, this is an indication of the upper stomach. The tissue directly around that is the colon. So any dark material or schisms sort of that travel into the eye, like spokes or radii, is all indication of things that's happening in the colon. If it comes out to here, it's evidence that it is in the colon. It is possible for you to pick up a book on iridology and start to learn a little bit more about this, because as far as being a medical Intuit, there's ways that you can read a person, and there's ways that you could read their writing and other things as well. If a person writes very, very small, that's evidence that there can be some Parkinsonian sorts of symptoms and things. They're starting to write really small, very little. You know, if somebody crowds to the very edge, that's often evidence that actually of a lot of mental activity. So we can read a person's writing, we can tell a lot of things going on physically, and you can listen to a person's voice, and you can hear the things going on with their voice. You can make a sound, you know, and you can hear the echo back, and we can hear the size of the room. You could learn totally to hear and feel what the size of the room is by the sound coming back. Sound, where sound resonates within the person's cavity, that's a major indication of the things going on. As the person's as their sound, their voice comes more from their breath, from their belly. This is a great thing. Most of us could get more tone deeper and a little slower. And that's coming more into our feelings. And that's the chakras opened up here, and there's a column, and then all the chakras are open. But if I start to, can you hear? I'm not really exaggerating this. You know, my voice is only resonating from here. You know, so that was a great exaggeration. But these are all subtle. So as you can hear in the person's voice over the phone or anything, you can hear if there is any congestion in the body at all. We can hear if as the nose is completely clear, we can hear this in the voice. You can hear any congestion in the body because we can hear through our ears the congestion that is in the body, and I can read you like a book if I can hear your voice. Over the phone, I can read you like a book and tell you everything going on through your voice. Do you want to actually walk with him a little bit? Okay. So.
Can you tell, is it just physically or emotionally, spiritually, everything? All the levels? Or?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. A person who's sort of more, you know, getting their voice to come more from the throat. It's resonating more from the throat. That's no chakras down here open, no chakras here open, no chakras here open. It's just a chakra that's closed in the throat, and it's not letting the energy come in a column up, basically. Very common. Common condition. Why? Because most of us are told, you know, that we should be quiet, we should be seen and quiet, basically, you know. As we were kids, we were sort of told we should be seen and quiet, and then for women, for females, typically there can be the added thing in this culture of smiling and not rocking the boat, and so sometimes when she's had a feeling of something that possibly could be said, she might not say that, and then she might not necessarily be rewarded on this level necessarily. She could be rewarded for her beauty and all kinds of senseless things on this level, perhaps. But sometimes, you know, I mean, often maybe she's not being rewarded for doing a good job and this sort of thing. Somebody says, "Oh, gee, you look really pretty today," you know. And that's maybe not such a good compliment necessarily. If somebody does a good job intellectually and something, that's, you know, somebody could be congratulated and this sort of thing. But we all are equal to each other, and anything that ever happens is because something is going on which created that, basically. Otherwise we're equal to each other. So for her, she can often have less than the chakras open through here because of a closed chakra here. That's not uncommon at all. It's amazing, actually, on the panel yesterday I saw this, and I see it a lot. The speaker on my left, she was about to speak, you know, and the other panelist, the male, started speaking, and that happens a lot. See, so she's taught more to, you know, the manners of this, but then he sort of hasn't learned this. But that's so very important that we can make sure there's a gap. Because when somebody just jumps out and says something, it's like, oh, this person had a lot of internal dialogue there before this, you know, there was no gap at all. Hopefully there can be a gap, and then also too, it's okay that something that I would say was directly related to what somebody said, but I only said it 3 or 4 people after what this person said, you know. But it's great to be able to log information that you would speak if there was a need to that, and then be able to manage it, which she can often be really good at this. But so typically, because of all of our culture, her chakra here can be less than open. That's not uncommon. If you look in the magazines, you always will see that she's taught to smile, and everywhere she is, she's smiling, which is kind of maybe a good thing. It's better than what he's taught. He's taught to frown, and that's not too good, actually. But if you'll see most of the faces of women and men and advertising, you'll see that she's trained to smile and he's trained to frown, basically. So these things affect ourselves, and we can tell. You can tell emotion through the voice, can't we? Huh? Absolutely. You can tell if somebody's like flowing. When happy, things are flowing, and the cadence is slightly slurred a little because there's a little looseness. But then if a person's not feeling happy, then it's a clipped kind of cadence. And we're going to do this, and you've got to do this now. See, it's a clipped kind of cadence. James Baker was very good at that. You know, when he was Secretary of State, you know, he was a clipped kind of cadence. And some of the other Secretaries of State have been that way as well. Colin Powell's not, though. Colin Powell's very more sort of seeing the big picture sort of thing. And he brings his hands out like this when he talks, whereas others that we've had, they really cut the air like this. You know, and even whenever they gave a talk anywhere, it was a clipped kind of cadence. And it came from the aversive component of the brain. That's right. So when people are more, it's soft, it's like a melody, it's beautiful to hear your voice, it's like a song. We can hear the things going on in a person's life. Did you know that there was a fellow Gunn, also at the turn of the century, that studied brains and discovered that when there was shock, psychologically, emotionally, it can have caused cancer. When there was shock, psychologically or emotionally, that it can have caused a major condition somewhere in the body. So he developed a theory, and oh my God, had great success by being aware of this. In other words, that all cancer and all shock, whatever it occurred, there was some stress, major stress that was going on that was, you know, absorbed by the body. Did you know that it's become confirmed? Gunn's research has been confirmed. Hammer's research. For the people listening to the tape, it was Hammer. Hammer's research has been confirmed by CAT scans that have been done to the brain. They've discovered schisms in the brain that correspond directly with where things are in the body. Isn't that amazing? So whenever anything arose, there was some major stress that was involved at the time when it arose, and emotionally, it's very important that as a medical intuit, you're able to get a sense if there is something emotionally that needs to be managed more. How would it be that you learn how to cleanse your body, but emotions weren't in order? See, the things are very important that we manage both things. So, the where you can hear the resonance happening within the body can give you very much indication of things going on. Be intuitive. You can feel this. It's sort of an intuitive thing. When you are not reading, you're in this state. You're actually photographically getting pictures of the page. The moment you start to read consciously, bam, you're not in the state. So it's a very intuitive process, which is possible to apply things that you could learn, and as you learn all of these things, it's possible to apply all of this, and it's possible to get a sense of everything that's actually going on in the body. So the hand, I read her left hand to know everything going on in the body, and I read his right hand to know everything going on in the body. So the thumb corresponds with the mineral content. The index finger it corresponds with water. Is that your pointer finger? Your pointer finger corresponds with water. Your large finger corresponds with fire force, your liver force. Your ring finger corresponds with air. And your little finger corresponds with electricity. So typically, these first three fingers on your hand, your pointer, your large finger, and your ring finger, your pointer finger the fingernail should finish. It should finish at the base of the beginning of your ring finger nail. Has everybody got that?
Say that again?
So let me just draw this out and then I'll speak it because people are going to be listening to this on the tape. Okay, so now this fingernail here, this fingernail should finish here. So the pointer finger should finish, the fingernail should finish at the base of the ring nail. And this fingernail, your ring fingernail, should finish at the base of your large finger.
Either hand?
Yeah. No, for him, he reads the right hand. For her, she reads the left hand. So if this is longer, which often it is, it's because there's excess water in here. Because when there's pressure on in here, the very inside of your body, which the inside of your arm corresponds with, is pressing out like that. And it causes the hand to move out and away, sort of, you know. And it lengthens this bone and pushes this finger out in front. And that's an indication of extra water in here. If these two fingers are in right relationship with each other, you can see that this fingernail finishes there, then these two fingers are in right relationship, so the water and air, your ring finger is air. And the fire, so if this fingernail finishes halfway up the ring finger, that's an indication of an underactive fire force. It's possible to be able to read a person's hand and know the things that's going on inside the body to assist you to make some determination as to what to do to help someone heal. So it's amazing because when I was in Brazil recently, last few times that I've been there, I've done some major TV work, and the thing they were most interested in is I could read you like a book. So in the TV audience, before a live audience, anything that was going on, somebody would stand up and I could read you like a book and tell you what's going on. They thought this was absolutely unbelievable and how accurate this is. But it's possible to be able to sense everything that's going on the outside of the body as a window into the internal matrix of the mind and the internal matrix of the body itself. We can read everything.
Can I ask where your knowledge comes from?
This particular knowledge comes from an Ceylon. I've collected information from all over the world and put it together. And it's the most powerful body reading technology of its kind. And it comes from very ancient insight.
What's it called again? What's it called again?
So, the hand reading? Oh, or what I do.
Ceylon. What did you say?
Ceylon is the island of India, the tip of India.
So you're really taking information from all over.
Yes.
And you synthesize it.
Yes. I'm probably the most studied person that you've connected with in your life.
The most what?
I'm probably the most studied person you've connected with
I think
in your life. Yeah. Because I've spent near 30 years or more, 16, 18 hours every day. You know, and I've done that for many years. Until finally I could open a book and I could tell you if there was anything in there, actually. Yeah.
So how do you actually eliminate the water? Because usually it's
How do we eliminate the water? If we've got extra water in here, we've got to get the fire force going. You've got to get the cholesterol to be cleared away. Cholesterol is reabsorbed across the intestinal lumen if it's not being swept out. And that's estrogenic. And that's a cancerous state. That's high blood pressure. That's the brain less than working as well as what it can. That's the nervous system less than working as well as what it can. Is excess estrogens, right? All excess sugars from starch, fats, all undigested proteins and things all end up estrogenic, and that's very problematic. That is kind of like a death, actually, because that's a substance which we really shouldn't have in the body in the manner that it is. How are we doing?
Good.
Is it good? Any questions up to this moment?
How about the outside, the inside the eye, the large area?
Okay.
The red, I have red eye also.
Oh, okay, so the sclera. The sclera can be read out as well, very much. For the most part, everything that's happening on this side of the sclera is an indication of the sclera. You say sclera? You say sclera? Sclera. Yeah. Okay, that's the white part of the eye. Everything of the sclera that is of this side is indication of the things going on the inside of the body on this side of the eye. So this eye is corresponding on the inside with everything that's going on through the inside of the body. The outside of the right of the eye is indication of everything happening on the outside of this side of the body. So the right eye is indication of what's going on with the right side of the body. The left eye is indication of the sclera of what's going on with the left side of the body. When we have inflammation of the right of the eye, it's evidence of the inflammation of the intestinal tract, inflammation a little of the liver, for the most part typically. Wherever we have inflammation here, we have inflammation in the blood, inflammation in the body, typically. So when you have, in the left eye, you have a vein that travels in like that, that's red. Have you ever seen that in somebody's eye? In the left eye? Indication of emotional challenges. Emotional heart challenges. Whenever you look at the left eye and the right eye and you see a slight blood vessel in the right part of the right eye on the inside, do you know what this is indication of? Liver stress. Liver condition, liver stress, congestion, confusion. Person's confused, not knowing quite what to do, can cause both eyes to sort of have, because confusion can create one here for liver, but also can create one on the left side for the heart. So all conditions are emotional that are affecting the person's heart absolutely are shown by the sclera of the eyes. So let's look at hemisphere participation. Are you using both sides of your brain? Is that a good one for us to look at? How do we know this? If someone you're connecting with, this person's using all of their brain, or you're using all of your brain. We can see our two thumbs. Put your two thumbs together, right, so that your nails are equal, and look at the moons. So now, so this left thumb, I can see on the diagram I've drawn on the board here, the left thumb, the moon is larger than the right finger, yes? You can see this. Okay, so this left side of the body corresponds with the right side of the brain. So where we're seeing larger growth pattern in the moon on this finger is an indication of hemisphere preference. This is somebody who's using the right hemisphere a lot more than the left. Right hemisphere is involved in internal milieu, introspection, inhibition, mulling over things, internal dialogue, visual spatial processing, but internal milieu. So when somebody's fingernail, the fingernail, the moon, has grown larger on the left side, it's an indication generally the person's been a bit depressed. They've been inside, mulling over things inside, and been depressed. It's caused more growth pattern to be on the left side of the body. When the right thumb moon is larger than the left, this is an indication of left hemisphere processing, and that's also sequencing things, mulling over things, sequencing stuff, chatter and talk, and no rest on this level, and typically no rest. So most people actually really do require a bit more rest actually, and that you're really working hard, and actually we do need to have a bit of rest. Rest is very important.
What do you think of a person who gets up in the middle of the night?
Somebody's getting up in the middle of the night, for the most part, it's typically because of an interstitial cystitis, urinary interstitial cystitis. Urinary interstitial cystitis is where there is a inflammation of the bladder itself. So when people are peeing, they have to get up to pee, or they're peeing regularly, it is because the bladder wall is inflamed. Whenever you eat flesh and cheese, that's going to create more inflammation of your bladder. Omega-6 fats create inflammation. All cheeses and flesh and corn, soy oil, grapeseed oil, margarine, butter, flesh, as an enormous amount of omega-6, and this creates inflammation. So if you don't have those foods, you'll have much less of this, and you'll be able to get through the night more. But at the moment, we have interstitial cystitis. When you came up here and we read your lips, that was the one thing that we said that you primarily have is urinary interstitial cystitis. The way I told that was, we have distension here, right here, which right there corresponds with the bladder itself.
Doesn't too much sugar and low minerals do the same thing?
Too much sugar, like from cane sugar and starch and things, can clump blood, and then the blood being clumped, sugar robs phosphorus from the body, and calcium needs phosphorus to function. Calcium needs phosphorus. If you eat excess sugar like starch and banana, you're missing phosphorus, and calcium can't work, and so the endocrine glands don't work. Your endocrine glands require calcium to function. Does that make sense? Your endocrine glands require calcium to function. When you do extra sugar, when you eat sugar like pizza and all this sort of thing, raises blood sugar, that blocks calcium from being in the blood, and that causes muscle and cramping. If you're cramping, that's evidence you need more magnesium, which is a food-grade magnesium you should have, and then that will take the cramping away. But that's so very important because the heart, the brain, really only functions nicely as a result of having a nice amount of magnesium, and everybody is magnesium deficient here. There's no person in the room that has enough magnesium. There's no magnesium in your diet. Everything you eat robs magnesium from the body. Magnesium can help relax enormously, cause the muscles to relax nicely. And then the other thing is, the most important thing is to make sure we can do what we can to breathe through the nose. So some people who have been mouth breathing, it's wise to do what we can to, maybe if it's agreeable, to put some surgical tape over the mouth, to close the mouth and breathe through the nose. And see what we can do to impress the unconscious mind to close the mouth and breathe through the nose. So breathing through the nose is very important. If you're a snorer, you're breathing through your mouth. You can't have good health after that. It's impossible. That's a major systems crisis in the morning and through the day. You've breathed off your carbon dioxide. It's called hypocapnia. 7% of the 7%. There should be 7% carbon inside our cells. If there's not, oxygen is not being released. We have to quieten the breath down very much and breathe more quietly to make sure we build carbon dioxide. Otherwise, it causes muscle cramping and causes tetany. And any young person even can have this condition actually. So that's very important to breathe through the nose, right? Very, very important. If it's agreeable, we can put some surgical tape over the mouth. If there's congestion in the morning, it's typical because there was mouth breathing at night. Breathe through your nose all the way through your sleep. Okay? Does it make sense?
And how would you increase magnesium?
Magnesium, we can be in sea vegetables, we can halt all the drugs like starch, flesh, cooked food, this sort of thing, which are drugs. They rob magnesium from the body.
Dairy products.
Dairy products rob magnesium from the body. Make a bushfire for it. You know. Burns out of control. And then it takes quite a while to get magnesium back. Adults take 6 to 8 months. Magnesium every day, but you can heal up, which you should not have any cramps. And then if you have enough magnesium, you have calcium. You have calcium, you've got your endocrine glands being run nicely. You need calcium to run the endocrine glands. Calcium as a mineral is 10,000 times to run strength on the outside as on the inside of a cell. It's the only mineral concentration which is so vast like that. All the other mineral concentrations from inside to outside, the largest is only 1 to about 130. But this is 1 in 10,000. There's no calcium on the inside of the cell, 10,000 times calcium on the outside of the cell.
So,
Calcium has to be kept outside the cell. If calcium's gone into the inside of the cell, cell death. Necrosis. So when we do all sorts of pills and things that have calcium in it, that gets deposited in the body. All kinds of supplements also are problematic because it's not a good calcium.
so how did you read a magnesium deficiency?
Magnesium deficiency can be read perfectly by seeing how easy you can ask a person. Is it, you know, when you tighten up really and you arch your back in the morning just when you wake up, does your back relax perfectly? You've got enough magnesium. If you open up your mouth like this, really wide, makes you yawn. Open up your mouth really wide. If you feel these muscles here, when you open up wide, wide. Can you feel these muscles? Shouldn't be able to at all. Should not be able to at all. Should be light. Should completely light when you open your mouth up wide like that. If you open your mouth wide like that and you can fill your mouth, you've got hardly any magnesium in your body. Now even me, I'm magnesium deficient. I wouldn't be if I didn't do coffee. And then while I'm away on the road, sometimes I do coffee, and that's really bad. And then sometimes I have done sugar with that, and that's really bad. And I have a magnesium deficiency because of this. And then I have also a little magnesium deficiency because I do that, and then I also often am, just on the go the whole time and not resting. So I actually have a magnesium deficiency because of this. If I rested, if I let that drugs go, I'm fine.
You don't really recommend coral calcium, do you?
No, your coral calcium can be helpful for structuring water, but not internally, no. We're not meant to grind up calcium and get calcium from coral, no.
How do you recommend taking in?
I don't recommend taking in calcium, but some people might need some, but if you're on live food, there's a lot of calcium in this, but there's no magnesium. You need magnesium.
I basically would prefer somebody using sesame seeds instead, right?
Yeah, but sesame seed tahini sort of clumps blood. It causes blood to stick more so, you know? Louis, how you doing? Good?
So would bananas fall in the category where it's too much starch, too much sugar?
Yeah, banana has very little potassium in it. Very little. But that's one of the selling points of banana, isn't it? Because they say, oh, gee, the people who own the bananas, who are some of those companies? Chiquita and,
So they say, oh, they
Right.
offer you their high potassium.
Of course, they're looking for what they can find in there. Say, hey, we found potassium in there. But it's so little, it's incredible.
I prefer either broccoli and kale for calcium, right?
For what?
Kale and broccoli for calcium.
For calcium, oh yeah, my God. But no, kale, no. Broccoli, no. No, kale has a negative calcium ratio for calcium
What if you soak the
because
seeds?
of the phosphorus in it, sulfur in it.
What if you soak the seeds?
Seeds? Sesame?
Yes.
No. Even if you soak it, it's still going to be... But you can get some calcium from that. There's a lot of calcium in sesame seeds. Unbelievable. Everything you eat, for the most part, that's growing on the earth has quite a bit of calcium in it. But sea vegetables have the most. Sea vegetables have the most. Kelvin has the most.
Do you not recommend sesame seeds?
Yes, some, but not too many because it clumps blood. You can only eat so much. Could you imagine finding all the sesame grass and shaking it and trying to find it up and then chewing it? It'd take you you'd be there for hours, days, just to get a little bit.
What's too much?
A little bit. Teaspoon or two a day is plenty, well and truly.
Teaspoon is okay?
Oh my God, no, that's too much. Yes, it would be, absolutely. Yes, that probably would be. You might do a tablespoon of sesame seed every now and then, it'll be fine. But if you did that every day, no, that would be way too much.
So half a teaspoon, I mean half a...
If you grind those seeds down into a butter, if you had a teaspoon of butter, you could get away with a teaspoon of butter, tahini and dressing or something like that. But otherwise it could be too much. Yeah, flaxseed is better actually for you. Chia seed is better. So let's get back to the readings.
What about pumpkin seed?
Pumpkin seed, marvellous, oh my God. But a lot of omega-6. And most people are getting too much omega-6. We need a bit more omega-3 foods than omega-6. Omega-6 is very inflammatory types of fat. Pumpkin seed? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so that's amazing. So let's see. Let's get back to the reading. Did you know that your hair are little chimneys? Little chimneys. And then what comes out of your hair is gases. Did you know that when we listen have kept our hair or the colour of our hair and this sort of thing, it is because those gases are not so friendly. Did you know when you smell a person's scalp, you can actually smell the gases a person's emitting? Toluene, all kinds of noxious gases that could be being released, including hydrogen peroxide. Have you ever put hydrogen peroxide on some denim or something? What happens? Bleaches. Hydrogen peroxide slowly bleaches the pigment if you're not clearing peroxides from your body. Yeah, and so now, you know, our head corresponds, hair loss corresponds with the things going on. If we've got hair loss here, that's an indication of the heart. If we have hair loss here, through here, that's an indication of kidneys. If we have hair loss more through here, that's an indication of lungs and colon. Where hair loss is can tell you what's the major organ, more or less, that needs to actually be vamped.
Do you think hair loss is to some degree genetic?
We all have some genetic component, and some of us have what's called male pattern baldness, but that's only carried, you know, by the mother, and she can only transfer that to the male. So this is called male pattern baldness, and what this is estrogen and testosterone not being broken down properly in the scalp. And so some of our genes, so these genes typically, most of these genes are typically able to neutralize testosterone and estrogen. But some of us are born with genes which is not so easily able to neutralize testosterone. But you can put a roll-on horse chestnut, which you don't get in your eyes, but that will clear that. You can actually do inversion and get gravity to get blood to come to the head more, and you can reverse this quite a bit. If we can clear the toxins, it doesn't occur. But it's only as a result of less than having ease of ability to clear toxins that it's possible that someone other can grow their hair properly, you know, in here, basically. But the mohawks, which my teacher, Cloud, is connected with, and this family, and that I've studied with, they pride themselves to be able to have the force to have hair grow from here. So they took all the hair off everywhere else, and that was called the mohawk, because that was their way of, but they had a sort of a way of thinking about things. They felt that if the person could grow their hair profusely from the crown, the top of their head, they say, well, now, whoa, it's like, this is like energy coming out like a fountain. It's unbelievable. So we can improve this by reducing the fats. We can improve this by reducing the flesh. We can improve this by bringing silica in. If you get a person's nail and you can easily bend their nail, nails are not less than excellent. Not enough calcium in the bones. You can read the nail. I can read your nail. I can tell you how much calcium you have in your bones. Bam. Instantly. Better than any calibrated piece of equipment. Exactly. Corresponds exactly. So if the nails are good and solid, it's an indication you've got nice amount of calcium in your bones. If the nails are soft, it's an indication calcium is not in the bones. calcium not being in the bones and not in the nails is an indication of stress, emotional, physical stress. Can it have been robbing calcium from the bones? Calcium can have been robbed from the bones from things eaten, stress. Phosphorus and sulfur from eggs, fish, flesh, starch. All the phosphorus and sulfur that comes from that has to be neutralized. How are we going to do it? There's nothing in the food. Has to be neutralized by calcium coming from the bones. So it draws calcium from the bones. This is the major cause of osteoporosis. So when you're feeling the nails, it's possible to get a great indication. I also sometimes put my hand on top of the person's head and I can just sort of feel a little bit, how's their hair? Because you could tell the thickness and everything of the hair is an absolute indication, you know, of what's going on, you know, everywhere else. So basically, you know, the average person on an average SAD diet is losing 100 hairs a day, but we could have had a greater hair loss than that. But it's not uncommon for someone on a standard American diet to lose 100 hairs a day. Some of us could be losing more hair than that, and others are not losing hardly any hair at all. There's no hair falling out. You know, I have a shower, no hair is falling out, none. Not one or two, none. But hair being falling out is a sign of detoxification, because hair is excretory material, like the nails are excretory material.
So if you go on a cleanse, you may
Yes.
temporary hair loss.
Yes, that's right. Or even if we weren't cleansing, but the body is cleansing, we're going to have some hair loss. That's right. So now let's look at the hairs of our eyelashes. As the eyelashes still are turned in a little bit, these eyelashes on the inside, integrous. Your body's got its great integrity. But slowly but surely, as those eyelashes slowly sweep more out, less and less integrity. Less of keeping good integrity. Does it make sense? When the eyelashes are sort of in like that, it generally shows a loss of integrity and strength of the body. Excuse me, when the eyelashes are sweeping out. When the eyelashes sort of sweep out, it's an indication of a loss of integrity of the body. When your eyelashes, and you look in the mirror and you can see that they still are coming in like that, the top ones here are coming in like that still, it's an indication your forces are still together. But as the forces start to fall apart slowly, our eyelashes also fall this way, and that's an evidence of the state of things internally. We can certainly look at the trunk and we can tell a lot of things going on, you know. Certainly distension, inflammation, congestion, expanded girth. So if we have an expanded girth through here, that's an indication of a loss of human growth hormone. If we have expansion and weight gain around here, it's evidence of bile not being broken down as estrogen and testosterone in excess and not being broken down properly. So those of us who become more pear-shaped, we have hormonal challenges basically. If we're small on top and we're larger on the bottom, is typically an indication of hormones, and then hormones are helpful for you. Hormones mobilize your mineral reserves in your body. When we put a light into someone's eye, and we do it fairly abruptly, we've got to ask permission. Is that okay? We could just shine the light just a little bit, but not in the eye, and you get permission. The person says, yeah, that's fine. Some people go, oh, no. So, you know. So you slowly bring the light up, and it all of a sudden shines in the eye. What happens with the eye? The pupil goes, it reduces. Now, how fast, how quick, how much, how easily there's pupil reflex. The actual pupil reflex is an indication of hormones. Where there's low hormones, no pupil reflex. Where hormones are working perfectly, pupil reflex happens excellently. So it's possible to be able to tell how much hormone somebody has just by their pupil reflex. I can tell you, you know, if you have enough hormones and this sort of a thing.
What is it? What is it?
Say it again?
What is that? Hormones.
Hormones, yes. Okay, so if I've said something and you go, well, God, what was that? It could be because of my accent, and I have a slight lisp. So I'm really handicapped.
So we could
It's amazing you can understand anything.
No, I'm so excited. It's absolutely vital.
Yes.
Do you think we should take hormones? Is that what you're saying? If we have low
Seeds, hormones, seeds. Seeds are in hormones. Hormones are in seeds. Your seed is in your hormones. Hormones you get from seeds, mostly. Yellow colour, yellow-coloured fruits and vegetables and things, hormones, wonderful.
What kind of seeds?
Well, flaxseed, sesame seed, pumpkin seed, millet, quinoa, amaranth, chia, there are a few. Manitoban grass seed, they're seeds, they're not grains.
What's the best?
The best, chia.
Chia.
Yeah, it's the most, that weighs in as the most powerful seed on the earth.
If you,
Ground.
If you
Yeah,
germinate,
or soaked.
if you germinate buckwheat.
Buckwheat? Yes, buckwheat's a seed. Buckwheat's a seed, yes it is. Yes it is, yeah. But if you eat radish with it, it'll break down the toxin in the buckwheat. You can only eat so much of anything like this because there's always some toxin in it. So you eat a little bit of radish with that, or when we make a chip with our sprouted buckwheat, we make a sourdough chip. So it breaks the toxin down in the buckwheat sprout.
Sourdough chip?
Hmm. We make it a sourdough. We make a culture. We make a batter. We make a culture. We culture the batter.
And then you dehydrate.
Yeah, that's the way chips should be made. They should not be really just, seeds ground down and make chips. No, not. The ancient ones learned how to make a chip nice. Culinary art of this. It's light. Digest in your mouth. There's no sediment left much.
So when you use chia seeds in your shake, do you need to also pre-soak those seeds and just put it in?
No, pretty for the most part. Yeah, just put them straight in. But if you soak it, that is great. I leave in the kitchen at JUBB's Longevity. We have soaked chia, and then we take some of the chia out that's soaked, and we bring that into the recipe. Because it'll last in your fridge soaked for a while, long while.
Where do you
It
get
comes
chia?
gelatinous-y.
Where do you get chia?
Chia is marvellous. It's only just starting to come to be more so.
Where do you get it?
Gold Mine. Look it up on the internet. It's called Gold Mine. It's a company. It's the cheapest way to get chia.
Gold mine?
Gold Mine.
M-I-N-D?
Yeah, M-I-N-E.
Oh, mine.
I think it's Gold Mine, yeah. Gold Mine. Okay, so far we've talked a little bit about the face. We've talked a little bit about, well, we haven't really talked much about the body, have we? We're going to talk about the nose. If we ask a person to look back and you look up their nose, the nostrils should be even. If they're not even, that's an indication of the heart. The tip of the nose is an indication of the heart. If it's fatty, the nose would be more white and cold and congested right at the very tip. If the heart's not congested at all, the health of the nose is really indicated, health of your heart is indicated by the tip of your nose. When we tip our head back and we look at the nostrils itself, how easy the ventricles are and even the ventricles are is an indication sensed by, viewed by the symmetricalness of the nostrils itself. So let's talk just a tiny little bit about the body. So now, when the shoulders are back, and the heart is out, this is a great vital self, and where there's a slight arch in the back. But when the opposite occurs of that is the shoulders are drawn in more, and the stomach muscles are activated, and then also often along with this, these muscles here are activated, and so the person is sort of like, I'm exaggerating, right? But this is an absolute indication of emotional and cognitively having let go. Physically, emotionally, cognitively having let go. So the more the head is out in front, the more hallucinations going on, person hallucinating everything that's going on. The chin should be pulled in just a tiny little bit. The eyebrows should be raised just a little bit. This is sort of kid rapport. But when the chin is out like that, it's absolute indication of judgments. When somebody's looking up there and looking down there, that's judgment with the eyes. Non-judgmentalness is more just a levelness with the eyes, that's all, just soft levelness with the eyes. So we can look at the colour of your hands, and how clean your hands are is an evidence of whether or not you're processing bilirubin. So let's have a quick look at your hands. Okay, we have yellow hands, bilirubin.
Is that bad?
Yeah, well, there's neither bad nor good, but we've got to clear that up. We've got bile stones, major bile stones. Okay, some bilirubin, but this is a better hands. Oh my goodness. Okay, so have a look at these hands. This is very bile occlusion, major bile occlusion. A bile occlusion, but you know, you're doing okay, but got a bile occlusion. Let's have a look. Some bile occlusion. Bile occlusion. We definitely have bile
Or
occlusion.
red?
Yes. Yeah, hands are yellow, I can see. Yeah, hands are yellow, we have a bile occlusion. Bile occlusion. Bile occlusion. Bile occlusion. Definite bile occlusion.
We all
Right.
eat your diet.
Yeah. Things that are starch, bile occlusion.
Starch, you're saying starch is?
Mohammed's up the front here, by the way. He's my partner in JUBB's Delicaterie that's opening up in Brooklyn Heights. Mohammed has a Lebanese restaurant, and one of the more known Lebanese restaurants, and of course chickpea is one of the major wonderful foods, you know, that the Lebanese eat, and then it's very popular here in town too. You know, with the falafels and hummus and this sort of a thing that's eaten. Chickpeas will cause bile occlusion, and then of course all acid-forming foods will cause bile occlusion. Rice creates that. Rice, oh that's incredible. It's amazing, because the Filipinos especially, Filipinos have the largest pancreas of all the people on the earth. And did you know Filipinos eat more rice than anyone else on the earth? And actually that just about only eat rice. I mean, it's unbelievable. So even when we're born, we can be sort of jaundiced of the skin a little, and it typically is because of how much rice, how much grains, how much beans are you eating, how much acid food did you eat, because if you've got bilirubin in your skin, which is this pigment, it's evidence that the liver is less than breaking the blood down properly and excreting it out through the intestine in the feces, but that yellow pigment is being reabsorbed. So typical any yellowness of the skin at all is absolute indication of bile less than flowing through the intestine like it should. Bile has to flow through the intestine properly to create proper peristaltic activity, and when it doesn't flow properly, the small intestine, which has more nerves around the small intestine than the whole of your spinal cord, it less than allows the food to pass nicely. It less than allows the food to pass very nicely. And that can be a challenge. And then what happens? Gas, flatulence, bacterial overgrowth, and then liver backs up, LDLs get high, HDLs get low, cholesterol, we have our cholesterol out of whack. And then cholesterol out of whack causes high blood pressure. It's like a vicious circle, which we cleaned up by reducing and cleaning away. Because all you would need to do now, some people actually are loose, they're loose from here down. That is a diarrhea stool, but they're blocked up here. So some people can feel that they're already loose, but they're not loose up here. We could be loose down here, but not loose here. We have to completely be loose all the way through the intestine. If you've already got a diarrhea stool, because you're liquid from here down, doing this cleanse can heal this up, because it's a dysbiosis in the lower intestine that's causing a runningness and not able to hold that even necessarily. But this particular process, though it's a liquid stool, it's a stool you could hold on to for 7 to 10 hours if you needed to. It's not ejected because it's alkaline, whereas the other kind of liquid stool is acidic, and that's something, you know, you can't hold on to that, but you can hold on to this type of a stool. We bring in Oxymag and Swiss Chris, Orthophos, and other things. We do percussion, do castor packs. We work with the liver and the bile bladder to soften all the bile stones to clear these away. If anybody also needs to make a move, please make sure that you're welcome to actually make a move, because some people maybe have an appointment or something, or somebody has to actually connect with somebody. So make sure you feel welcome if you do love to actually make a move. So let's see. So now what I do is I palpate in here. Why not? Because if it's very woody, can't press in there much. It's like, well, gee, what's there? Something that's there shouldn't really be there, actually. That's bile stones.
Right under the ribs?
Yes. Yeah. Should be able to work your way all the way up there.
So if it's tender, that's it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If it's tender. There's hardly any receptors here, you know? There's hardly any receptors. So we should be able to get our hands all the way up underneath here. If we can't, it is because of bile occlusion, and that causes distension, that causes displacement of intestinal tract, and it causes the intestine to come out more here. So as we clear away the bile stones, we also improve our overall health, which is pretty easy to do. All we need to do is do some castor packs. And then one person called me up, and she sort of was in tears a little bit, and I asked her what was happening for her, and she told me that she was really physically ill, and she was dying, and that she'd been sent home because I wouldn't do anything more for her, and she was very overweight, and she was weeping on the phone, and anyway, she told me that the reason why she called me, this was pretty much first out of her mouth, was the reason why she called me was, she said, because she heard that I was allowing. That I was allowing. That I am allowing person. I'm allowing. I'll find a way for you, no matter what. And I don't just have a program and say, oh well, you have to do this. But I will adjust, and I can adjust. So I said to her, I said, well, what's your situation? And she told me, she said, oh, I don't have any money, she told me. She said, and I get Meals on Wheels. And she said, how could I do this? And I said, oh my goodness. I said, well, you could perfectly do this. I said, we're going to allow the Meals on Wheels. Right? But I said, how would you like, we're just going to increase elimination? She goes, oh, that would be great. Why? Because she hardly was eliminating at all. So I said, let's start with this. So what we did was, she took some Oxymag in the morning and the evening. That's all she did. She did that for the first month, and she reduced about 20 pounds. And that was the beginning for her. She's amazing today. She's amazing today, in good health, incredible, and in better health than she was when she was younger. But she got to the place where she could do the cleansing and clear her bile occlusion and things, and she's sort of healed up a lot, quite a bit. But if it wasn't for just the little things she began with, if it wasn't for being allowing, you know, not having any conditions. I don't have any conditions. I don't have any conditions. So, so that's such a beautiful thing, you know. Someone can begin. Don't have to do the whole thing. Someone could do a bite-sized chunk or something. I asked them, I said, what do you feel you can do? And the person could often tell me. I say, okay, let's start with this. You know. It always starts with that first step, and then the moment we begin a little, all we did was a little Oxymag in the morning, Oxymag in the evening. The person was a little afraid to do that because when they did empty their bowel, they were very loose, and they were concerned because they were totally bedridden. How would they do this, they thought to themselves. And they asked me this, and I said, well, all you need to do is to get things working from here through, you know, and this kind of a stool, that's going to happen, it's going to be liquid, but it's going to be a stool you could hold on to if you have to. So a little Oxymag in the morning, a little Oxymag in the evening can be enough to dissolve kidney stones, can help bile stones be dissolved, can help you empty more things out of your intestinal tract and reduce, because the only things having remained here is less than excellent health. Who wasn't in the lecture? Put up your hand. Was anybody?
I wasn't in the lecture.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Gee, where were you? It was a packed lecture. Let's see. What were we just saying?
About the oxymag and the milestones.
Milestones, yes. Oxymag. Huh? Yeah, no, that's right.
So where do you get that?
Oh, say it again.
Where do you get that?
Oxymag. Is everybody heard of JUBB's longevity?
Yes.
I'll just give you numbers. 212 353 5000.
There's a page in the back that's orange.
Okay. 212 353 5000.
353 5000.
5000, yes. Dr. Narvaez down the front here works with us. Dennis down the front here also works with us at JUBB's Longevity. These are two people actually to connect with. We've got a few people here that have some insight. Iris down the back has some really great insight. Let's see. Mohammed down here is really learning quite a bit about all of this, of course, because Mohammed is my partner in the restaurant that we're opening up. We're having a family party, by the way, on the 9th of November, and on the 12th we're having a press and celebrity party, and on the 14th we're having an opening for the public. You know. So what I was going to write here was this. Everybody knows that I just wrote EAT on the board, E-A-T, for people listening to the tape. Put a D in front and an H behind. You know, the ancient ones wanted us to know that basically we really do. One eats themselves to death, basically. You know, and when one does die, you know, it was your diet. You know, it was your diet. It was your diet. You know. Make no mistake, the most godlike people you know, they all are frugal eaters. So become a low foodarian, become a frugal eater. Focus on more the gaseous nature of the food. It's incredible. We have a Mediterranean section and a South American section because there's burgers in there and pumpkin pie and stuff, you know, and team roast, which is meat spelt backwards, you know, and other things, and anut, which is tuna spelt backwards, you know. Okay, so there's 3 indexes, which is very important. Acid-alkaline balance, we've got 10 minutes left. Acid-alkaline. That's 1. So this acid-alkaline balance has to be assisted. If I'm only bringing starch in, cooked starch, breads and things, and I'm bringing it in fresh, I'm bringing in dairy, I'm bringing an enormous amount of acid. There is no real alkaline stuff. That just equals no spare electrons in your battery to get the flashlight to go on. So acid-alkaline balance is one element that's about a biotrain. Another one is conductivity. Conductivity. Conductivity is when you put a probe into your fluid here, and it's connected to a wire, and it has a light and a battery, you know, and then it's connected to a probe, and you put both those probes in the water. Does the light come on? It should. If the light doesn't come on, conductivity is not quite right. If the light doesn't come on, conductivity is not quite right. It is because undigested proteins in the plasma, kidneys not filtering things out properly, cholesterol, wax-like deposits, insulation, not enough minerals. Conductivity can be poor as a result. Excellent as a result of making sure you're clearing debris away from your body. And so the third thing here is a negative redox. Spare electrons? Enough? Do you have antioxidants? This is called negative redox, antioxidants. Got enough antioxidants in your blood? Did you know that every cell takes 10,000 hits every day? Every cell takes 10,000 hits. Did you know that once you have plenty of negative redox, you guard against, you neutralize those oxidants? Otherwise, without antioxidants properly in the body, there's no antioxidants in flesh. There's no antioxidants in flesh. There's no antioxidants in starch and that sort of stuff, none. You do food that acidifies the body, oxidizes the body, blocks the body, create bile stones, conductivity doesn't occur very well, robs electrons from the body so there's hardly any electrons to neutralize free radicals. This is age. Age. Advanced glycation end product. Advanced glycation end product is what age stands for. Age, when you age, advanced glycotic end product. When your body no longer is able to manage sugar, it browns protein. You end up with these end products, and that's age. Advanced glycation end products. That's what age stands for. And these advanced glycation end products cause a browning of the mitochondria of our body and cause the mitochondria less than about to actually get its energy properly. In the heart and the liver that's active, there should be 500 mitochondria per cell. Mitochondria is your energy generators. If you use your heart and your cardiovascular system nicely, you've got a nice amount of mitochondria. Otherwise, it could only be 50 in there. It should be 500. In a muscle that's used, you're going to have about 500 mitochondria per cell. In the muscles that are not used, you could only have 50. Get back your mitochondria. You know, do something a little cardiovascular as you can. Do what we can to walk a little bit. Our lymphosizing and things is very helpful for us, you know. So the most important thing about becoming a medical intuit is quietening the body down, quietening electrical activity down, becoming more self-realized. Last workshop that I did here, that was about becoming a medical intuit. If you're interested, you should get that tape. It's very good because of totally new material. This material we covered here today is not the same at all as what we covered in the last workshop. So if you're interested to learn more about this, you could pick up the tape of the last workshop that we had on becoming a medical intuit because it's completely unique. It is much more about actually quietening things down more internally in here to be able to read people more so. We have a Phoenix Physician and Chef training program if you're interested. It's possible to come to JUBB's Longevity and connect with us about this, or come up now and actually connect with Dr. Narvaez and get a little information about this. If you're interested, it's possible to leave a name and a number where we can connect with you. There's a few minutes that we have left, and we can use this for a couple of questions about what we've talked about.
Do you supervise the fasting program?
Yes, we do. Dr. Narvaez is in town. We have some other Phoenix physicians. Yes, we do.
With the groups or just with
Sometimes we have groups, like Dr. Narvaez runs a group on a regular basis.
Monthly.
Right.
How quickly can I go on a diet like yours?
Not too quickly, because actually we've got to learn about it, you see. And then you love a little something, and that, you know, and then what would you do all of it? I mean, be allowing. It's best to be allowing, but I would recommend to get hold of a life food nutrition book. Do a life food nutritional fast. Begin by doing a life food nutritional fast, which is really a feast. It's simply no starch, flesh, or cooked food, or solid food, or breakfast. That's all. It's blended food. It's blended food. So in here, there's a program in this life food recipe book, and this life force is what we're really looking for, which is you don't have much of that in around a carrot or corn, you know? Soybeans, not much, little. Doesn't really have a good life force.
Are you selling these books right now?
We have a few left here, and these are brand new. They just came out this week, you know. They're $20 today, hand delivered.
The amount
They used to be $26.
The Mount Caffrey whey and goatee,
Yes.
the whey has been heated. And
Yes, it has.
About minerals, because the
Yes, it
minerals
has.
that are attached.
That's right.
Is that good?
Yes, it is. You get some goodness from that. But you know what? Marine minerals that I have at JUBB Longevity is way more powerful. Way more powerful. It's got its metabolic enzymes all with it. It hasn't been cooked or anything.
And what about
It'll put a bit on this piece of steak, it'll digest that steak. Just bore a hole right through it.
What about the goatee?
Goatine? The goatine
It's
is...
not heated.
No, that's better. But it's still
That's
cruel, isn't it?
protein.
Yeah, but it's a bit of cruelty, you know. You could have some of that. That could be a lesser evil, you know. But and it can be excellent.
I do
Yeah.
both.
But when we do that, we're voting for the castration of the animals and the cruelty of it, and we continue to support that. You see,
It's just the milk.
they castrate all the male animals, all the male goats, and they kill them all. So when you're actually buying goat milk and stuff, you're voting for all of it.
Actually, I haven't
know.
had dairy in 35
Okay.
years. It's you that got me back.
I know. No, I recommend people know that if you do something like that, you do it for a little while perhaps, but I don't generally just carte blanche recommend it without letting people know that there's some cruelty that's involved with this. And then there's other things that work more powerfully, like the marine minerals.
What would you recommend to use to raise serotonin level?
Raise serotonin levels? We have a tea which unbelievably raises serotonin levels. It's called EZT. It's a mood elevator and appetite suppressant. It's unbelievable. If anything was troubling you, you have a tea, it'll be like water off a duck's back. Really. Yes, but serotonin is produced in the gut. 95% of all serotonin is produced down here. When we have inflammation down here, not enough serotonin upstairs. 95% of all serotonin is made in the gut. Gut has to work properly for having proper levels of serotonin. But EZT works far better than any medication.
Would you ever write a book about the stuff that you're talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Phoenix Physician tapes, and we have a booklet which is coming out, which, if that's interesting to you, you might ask Dr. Naves about this. Yes.
With your new book, I mentioned.
And actually, JUBB Cell Rejuvenation, Colloidal Biology has some stuff in it. JUBB Cell Rejuvenation is very amazing work, incredible. It's like all of these works are Bibles of their kind. There's nothing like it written on the face of the earth.
Where's your
and more accurate.
Where's your store located? It's on the
Right here in Greenwich Village.
on the orange sheet in the back.
Yeah.
To do consultations?
Yes, I do. We do consultations. We read people like a book. In 5 or 10 minutes, you get a reading, which is the most sophisticated reading you've ever had in your life. And then the rest of the time we spend with each other drawing up things of what to do about what we found. And I guarantee that when you get up from your chair, you go, my God, I feel like I've got to the bottom of things. Most people do. They go, thank you. Wow. It really is incredible. Incredible. You know. Okay, we're just, one more question. And down at the back, we had our stop sign come up.
In your recipe book, you mentioned about raw tofu.
Yes.
Where you
Tofu.
get-
No. No.
Long time ago, I guess. No.
Yeah. Now, I'm not the only author of the book. And Annie always felt to be kind and allowing, and she'd allow a few things in there that wasn't like food. And then she said, oh, God help us, don't be too strict, which I think that's a good thing, isn't it? So we'll have something cooked at the restaurant too. You know, just because, like, why be so, like, drastic? You know, let's have something completely not healthy at the restaurant. No, but something should be not too healthy, but, you know, not as healthy as everything else, you know. Because it's got to fit in. It has to fit in. We have to fit in, very important. So for a long while, that was a running thing that I had with Annie, who's the major author of this work, is Annie Jubb. And so my contention was, oh God, I don't like that tofu being in, because I don't think there's any tofu in here. But and I don't like banana in there. No. And she said, oh, that's okay. People love banana, and they were eating bananas like fiends, you know. And we only have one recipe in here that has banana. And I said, oh yeah, but it's bothersome. People see that there and say, well, you said not to eat banana, but there's banana there, you know. So I think there may be not any recipes now that have banana in here. But on the way, you know, Annie, who's the major author of this, she's had a philosophy to be kind of allowing a little bit, you know. And I think even she might have had goat cheese or cheese or something in one recipe, you know. And then the reason she said was she didn't want to be so strict, and one thing is off, and that's okay. No, because you only eat a few. But if you're eating like,
How am I can't, no.
if you're eating a lot of them, it's, oh no, no, no.
And dried
They have to
fruit-
be soaked
and dried
if you're
fruit
eating them as a food.
Too sugary.
Is what?
Dried fruit. is-
Dried fruit? Not necessarily, but where someone is, it could be, but not necessarily, no. No. But things which is problematic is starch. See, that's really problematic because the dried fruit has its enzyme to break itself down into a liquid, whereas the starch you eat, that's going to end up as solid matter and that has to ferment.
You take enzymes like
I recommend that you might consider bringing enzymes in because it can help break food down. Enzymes turn protein into water and gas. Gone. Just water and gas. You know, without enzymes there's hardly any work that's done in the body at all.
So do you recommend basically pre-soaking the seeds in a distilled water for 6 to 12 hours?
Okay, the best kind of water really is not a distilled water actually, because the distilled water will pull mineral and everything from that seed. The best is actually to soak your seed or your nut in a pure water which has some minerals in it, not an ultra pure water. We have pure water and ultra pure water at the shop at JUBB's Longevity. We use pure water for rinsing, we use ultra pure water internally, and we remineralize it and structure the water. But we start with a very pure water, incredibly. The water that comes from a fruit is a water that has not seen light, same as this water that we use. It shouldn't have seen light. It's anionic. If water has seen light, it becomes more cationic.
So you prefer soaking in a fruit juice actually?
No, it's best to soak it in pure water. Yeah. Maybe with a small amount of sun-dried sea salt, small amount perhaps, to help.
If you're using distilled water and you use sulfate salt in it, am I replacing the minerals in the water?
Yeah, with the sun-dried sea salt. That's such a good thing to do. Your sun-dried sea salt. If you use an ultra-pure or purified water, you remineralize that water with a little bit of sun-dried sea salt. A gallon, a third of a teaspoon per gallon of water. It's just enough to give it a small, nice taste.
what do you recommend for leaky guts?
Leaky gut, I have an alpha and omega formula which will block that leaky gut and build the gut. But basically you've got to get rid of the cause. The cause is bile not flowing properly.
I have some fat deposits.
Yes, right.
More like that.
Yes, that's right. Those fat deposits.
Feel your gallstones
That's right.
well, then I thought,
Okay, so now fat deposits is all fat is acid. Acid stored in the body. Excess acid stored in the body. All fat is caused because insulin was raised. Insulin being raised, starch raises insulin. And then you absorb what you ate, incredibly. And that creates fat deposit. You can't really be fat if you really don't eat starch, not really. You could get a bit fat if you ate cooked flesh and stuff in excess, but you couldn't get fat much. But you would get fat by eating starch. Clear away the bile stones. That's all. Go move toward live food. Is there someone else coming in here now?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I have dark patches under my eyes.
Dark patches.
Kidneys or?
Kidneys, yes. No eating late at night for you. Not good.
What kind of flush should I do?
Well, live food nutritional fast to flush away bile stones. To begin with, castor packs. One here, one there, one there, and one there.
Can I just do an olive oil one?
Yes. Anyway, just to the people listening to the tape, hope you're having a wonderful day. You know, I hope this lecture was really good. I hope this workshop was really good for you. You know, put some of this into practice.